So, this is Richard Chernyavsky, Brand Development Network International. And today I have the privilege of having a discussion on a subject that should be near and dear to all of us marketers, and that's on advertising. I would like to thank Bill Weintraub for participating in this discussion. Bill and I go back a long, long way. I would say Bill has an incredible expertise in advertising. Bill, thank you very much. And if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to everyone.
I'm happy to be with you, Richard. Yes, we do go back a ways. We started out at the same organization at Procter & Gamble years ago. I worked there for about 15 years. Then I was chief marketing officer at Kellogg Company in Michigan. Then I was chief marketing officer at Tropicana in Florida. And then chief marketing officer at Coors for about a decade in Colorado. Mm-hmm. I retired about 20 years, almost 20 years ago. And I've been teaching at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I teach advertising and marketing here, trying to poison young minds, if you will.
You know, Bill, I know that you're expanding these young minds. And when it comes to marketing, and in particular the advertising function, it's so important for us to be able to expand minds. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking that most marketers don't really appreciate advertising. I'm not sure that they understand what advertising is. Would you mind stating what you believe advertising is all about?
Unfortunately, Richard, I think you're right about today's, or many of today's marketers. They don't appreciate or understand marketing. To me, that's sad, but that's, I think, often what exists, and particularly on Super Bowl commercials, you'll see that. Not all of them, but many of them. I think many advertisers or marketers today may focus more on entertainment than selling. Not that entertainment or humor is wrong in advertising, but I think today, maybe more than historically, personal egos get involved, and they want to produce advertising that they enjoy, that their friends appreciate at cocktail parties, and they've lost sight of effective advertising, what really builds business, and spending thousands or millions of dollars on advertising that doesn't build or have the potential to build a business, to me is sad. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. So I think too, Bill, that many of the marketers think advertising in the classical sense. In other words, advertising is TV and advertising is print. And actually, advertising takes many, many forms. To me, I would say that advertising is really your marketing message about the brand. And, you know, one of the things you mentioned humor, which is quite interesting because when I started back in 1972, many of my peers believed that we needed to inject more humor into our advertising. And really, no one can dictate what you need to inject. Our advertising must be engaging, it must be compelling, but to say it needs to be humor or it needs to have a serious nature, that's really a tonality. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I agree. It's not necessary to be humorous or entertaining. Having said that, I think humor can be used effectively to dramatize the selling message. If the humor isn't borrowed interest, if the humor is based on a way to expand or, I like the word dramatize, expand and make bigger the notion, the core issue of what's going to convince or potentially convince a consumer to try to purchase the brand, okay? humor can be very effective for that. If it's just humor for the sake of getting a laugh and isn't based on what I would call the focus of sale or the selling premise, I think the humor distracts from the sale. Does that make sense, Richard?
No, Bill, it makes absolute sense. You know, you and I are both on the same page when it comes to dramatization. And so, really, we have our strategic benefit, and we have to find a way to dramatize it in compelling customer language. Now, humor might be able to do that. However, I don't want to get into tone until I see the idea and whether the idea is appropriate enough. And I could not agree with you more about it needing to be relevant to the brand itself. Because if it's not relevant, if we're only using it to attract attention, then one would say that the objective is awareness. And Kmart has awareness. Boeing has awareness. It's certainly not helping them a hell of a lot today. Awareness, to me, is nothing more than a media objective, right? So let's get down to that principal reason. What do we expect our advertising to do, or what should our advertise do for us?
The simple answer to that question is sell. To inspire, motivate, persuade, influence consumers to select our brand, the brand we're marketing, over competitive brands. So there is at least the possibility, hopefully the likelihood, that they will try our brands and they'll be satisfied with our brands. It's selling by another name. That's the way I think of advertising, whether it appears on social media, whether it's on television, whether it's on a billboard, whether it's skywriting. The purpose is to sell, to have the potential at least to sell more of our brand.
Yeah, no question. So yes, the purpose of advertising is to sell. David Ogilvy said, it's not creative unless it sells. That's the whole purpose. We need to get that sale. And I do believe, and I know you feel the same way, that there is a difference between the sales force selling and our selling with advertising. The sales force is very transactional in nature, and advertising should be transformational in nature. It is really creating the brand and creating a preference and a reason why you should choose that particular brand over another. And when I was listening to you talk about that selling, I remember Norm Levy. Don't ask me. Norm Levy, for those of you that don't know it, was a copy supervisor at Procter and Gamble. These folks analyzed advertising that worked versus the advertising that didn't work. They said, what's present in the advertising that's working that's missing from the advertising that isn't working? And one of the things that Norm had on his desk in Latin, don't ask me to remember the Latin, Bill, because I don't, but basically it said, telling isn't selling, which gets back to your point about dramatization, correct?
Yes, absolutely. We were very fortunate, Richard, to be able to work at Procter & Gamble in the era that we did with people like Norm Levy, who studied many thousands of commercials, of ads, to understand the principles, the techniques of how to effectively advertise, how to advertise in a way that has the likelihood, the potential of getting somebody to consider our brand. And we were schooled, both formally schooled and informally schooled, by Norm and his team to understand how advertising worked. So those lessons, for the two of us at least, were internalized. And that's the way, henceforth, in our lives, in our business lives, we think about advertising and effectiveness. And not that humor, not that entertainment is wrong-headed, but it should be in the spirit of, in the purpose of ultimately selling, inspiring, motivating a consumer to think about our brands, to transform the consumer, her mind or his mind, into, yeah, maybe I'll try that brand. It sounds good.
Yes, absolutely. They truly gave us, Bill, proven principles. And those principles are universal. As you know, I've done quite a bit of work in the healthcare area, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, et cetera. The principles are no different. You may have different ground rules in terms of regulatory and what you can say and what you can't say. However, the principles remain the same. You got to have a campaign idea. If you don't have a set of key copy words, then guess what? You're not getting the full mileage that you should be getting out of your advertising communications, out of your messaging. So you're absolutely right. They gave us proven principles that truly apply across all areas.